Hi everybody, and welcome to this masterclass. Today, I'm not only going to teach you how to cope with stress, I'm going to show you how to use stress to get stronger. So our session today is all about becoming anti-fragile, how to move from stress to thriving. So let's get started here with a concept that will help you understand what anti-fragility is all about. So let's imagine you go into the gym and then you start lifting some weights. So when you lift a weight, the muscle briefly breaks down, and what happens is you create these micro tears. In the recovery window, the body rebuilds the muscle stronger than before. This paradox, damage leading to growth, is at the heart of anti-fragility. So today I'll help you to see stress this way, the principles to apply it, and two practical ways to start intentionally becoming anti-fragile in your life. So what is anti-fragility? Anti-fragility is a term coined by Nassim Taleb, which describes systems that get stronger when exposed to volatility, stress, or disorder. So resilient systems resist shock, fragile systems break, anti-fragile systems improve. So let's think of some examples. So muscles that grow stronger after exercise, like the example we gave before. We exercise, we lift some weights, create some micro tears. The body relays some muscle, which grows the muscle and also makes us stronger. So let's think about the immune system, which adapts after controlled exposure through things like vaccines. Startups that learn from pivots and get better product market fit after facing challenges in their initial phases. So, at a psychological and practical level, anti-fragility means you design your life so small, recoverable challenges give you more options, more capability, and more confidence. So, why does this matter for stress? Most stress becomes chronic because we're never required to adapt in safe, incremental ways. Anti-fragility flips that. Deliberate dosed exposure plus recovery equals growth. So anti-fragile equals gains from disorder, challenge, or adversity. Resilience equals withstands disorder, challenges, and adversity. Fragile equals breaks under disorder, challenges, and adversity. So, what's the difference between anti-fragility and resilience? People often use resilience and anti-fragility interchangeably, but they're quite different, and the difference really does matter. So let's look at traditional resilience. So traditional resilience equals the ability to withstand challenge and return to your baseline. So it's a little bit like a rubber band. So you stretch the rubber band and then it goes back to exactly where it started. So resilience is your ability to absorb stress, cope, stay functional, and then recover after a setback. So it's valuable, it's certainly important, but it's limited. So the traditional resilience model is built on an assumption. Stress is bad, and the goal should be to get back to normal. So resilience helps you survive, stay stable, get back on your feet, and get back to baseline after initial disruption. So like a rubber ball, you drop it and it bounces back to where it was. So it's definitely great and we want it, but you don't actually grow from it. You remain the same person with the same level of capacity. You don't really evolve or change. Then there's a second type of resilience, something that I call resilient thriving. So resilient thriving goes further than just bouncing back. With resilient thriving, you grow through stress and you bounce forward. You don't just bounce back, you bounce forward. You become wiser and stronger and evolve through challenge and adversity. So resilient thriving is the ability to meet stress and adversity, process it, grow through it, and come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your authentic self. So it takes stress and transforms it into increased capacity, deeper meaning, greater clarity, stronger identity, more emotional agility, and greater cognitive flexibility. So you now have a better baseline than when you started before you faced a challenge or adversity. So traditional resilience gets you back to normal. Resilient thriving is about becoming, evolving into a better version of yourself because of the challenge. So it turns adversity and challenges into growth, self-awareness, insight, and development of inner strength. So traditional resilience, I recovered. Resilient thriving, I evolved. Now let's look at antifragility. So this goes well beyond both traditional resilience and resilient thriving. So antifragility is different from both because antifragility is the ability to benefit from stress, randomness, volatility, and uncertainty. So the more life throws at you, the stronger you get. You don't just bounce back and you don't just bounce forward, you actually get stronger. You get better because of the stress. You use adversity and challenges as fuel. So it's not about coping, managing stress, surviving, returning to baseline. And it's also not about just growing and evolving. It's about actively using stress as fuel, intentionally stepping towards challenge, seeking variability and new experiences, becoming stronger because of the unpredictability and stress. So it's similar to the muscle example we use. You stress it, it breaks down slightly, and then it rebuilds stronger. Antifragility requires variation, challenge, novelty, uncertainty, and pressure. You don't just tolerate stress, you need it to grow. So resilience helps you survive. Resilient thriving helps you grow. Anti-fragility helps you get stronger because of challenge, adversity, and a difficulty. So most people stop at trying to be resilient and just trying to survive a crisis. Both resilient thriving and anti-fragility take you further. They turn stress into strength and volatility into growth and discomfort into capability. And anti-fragility takes us even further. It helps you come back, not just having evolved, but much stronger with better systems, new skills, and more optionality. To become anti-fragile, we rely on specific mechanisms which help us to deliberately use stress in a smart way so you grow stronger because of it and not in spite of it. There are actually 10 core mechanisms to help us develop anti-fragility. Each mechanism is one way the body, brain, or our lives improve under challenge. The first mechanism is the stress dose, or something called hormesis. So it's graded exposure to stress. So it's small, controlled amounts of stress to help create adaptation and make you stronger. So too little stress, so you're in your comfort zone, no growth. Too much stress, you break down. The right amount, so the Goldilocks principle, it equals adaptation. Some examples. So lifting slightly heavier weights each week, learning a skill just beyond your comfort zone, taking a cold shower for 30 seconds, speaking up once in a meeting when you normally stay silent. So it helps you become anti-fragile because your body and mind learn stress isn't dangerous. I can handle it. And this builds confidence, capability, and tolerance. The second mechanism is variability and novelty. So this is about doing things in different ways to keep you flexible and adaptable. If everything is predictable and you always do the same tasks, become rigid and inflexible and break easily under change. So some examples would be taking a different route to work, learning a new hobby, working from a different work environment, changing your workout routine. So you become someone who can adjust quickly instead of freezing or panicking when life shifts. So you're training yourself to be adaptable and variable and someone who loves novelty. Third mechanism is redundancy and buffering. So this is about having extra resources, skills, or support so you're not fragile when one thing fails. Some examples would be having some extra savings. So perhaps a separate bank account for that rainy day, or if there's some issue that comes up beyond your control. So having two skills instead of one, having multiple people you can call on when you're going through a challenging time, or having a backup plan. So with this mechanism, you're no longer one failure away from collapse. You become steady, confident, and harder to break because you've always got something else you can fall back on. The fourth mechanism is optionality and small bets. So this is about instead of having or making one big risky move, you make lots of small, low risk experiments. And we're experiential beings, so we thrive with experiments. Some examples would be trying 3 ways to improve your health instead of betting on one. Testing a side project for 30 minutes a day as opposed to going all in 100% and having it potentially fail. So asking 3 people to help you instead of relying on one increases the odds that at least one person will say yes. So this helps you create choices. And with more choices, you have more power. And with more power, you're less fragile. And this is a core part of becoming anti-fragile. Small experiences, quick learning means safer growth. The fifth mechanism is decentralization and diversity. So this is about avoiding single points of failure. So you don't want to put all your emotional, financial, or identity eggs in one basket. So it's about some examples would be diversifying your income. So perhaps you have your main income source, but then you have a secondary income source or passive income for investments, etc. You don't rely on just your job for giving you a sense of meaning. Perhaps you have a charitable organization you contribute to or participate. You have some community activities you're involved in. You diversify and build more than one income skill. So rather than having one skill set, you have multiple skill sets, which enable you to navigate changes in the work environment. You diversify and build friendships and social networks outside work. So you have a multitude of possible social connections. You diversify the activities that bring you joy. So you don't rely on one particular activity, social activity, hobby, sport. You have a couple. So if one area gets shaken, the rest of your life holds steady because you've got backups. You've got redundancy. You've built this in. You're not relying on one thing to give you what you're looking for. Second, or the sixth mechanism is recovery and overcompensation. So growth doesn't happen under stress. It happens after stress. So it's in the recovery period. So let's think about this. You break down your muscle during the workout, the actual growth happens in the time between your next workout. So it doesn't happen in the actual workout. You do the work to create the environment for change to happen, but the change and transformation in your muscle happens when you're in the recovery period. So you need to factor into your life sleep, recovery time, rest days, calming modalities like our calm touch practice, walks, talking to someone who's safe, reflection. So these should be non-negotiable in your life. So your body and brain rebuild stronger than before when we give them opportunities to recover. Without recovery, there is no antifragility. The seventh mechanism are learning loops and rapid feedback. So this is about you learning quickly by trying something small, seeing what happens, adjusting and trying again. Fast feedback accelerates adaptation. So you want to try something small, evaluate and reflect on the results. You want to tweak or adjust, then you repeat. So you want to get quick feedback from a friend. You want to track one small habit for 7 days. All of these things help you grow rapidly because you're constantly updating, adapting, and improving. So it's a little bit like the Japanese principle of continuous, never-ending improvement. The eighth mechanism is psychological flexibility and meaning. So instead of thinking stress equals bad, stress is no good, it's bad for you, etc., you learn to see stress as information and fuel for learning and growth. So instead of saying, I'm so stressed, this is overwhelming, etc., you're going to ask yourself, what is this stress trying to teach me? How is this discomfort helping me grow? Because your interpretation of stress is something that is positive for you. It's giving you information. It's a learning opportunity. It becomes your superpower. The purpose protects you from demoralization and makes you harder to break. In fact, research indicates the most resilient people are those who actually have a sense of purpose. The ninth mechanism is called social capital and co-regulation. People who feel supported bounce back faster, adapt better, and grow stronger. So this means having people to talk to, being around calm people who regulate you, feeling part of a group, sharing struggles, perhaps having a coach, a mentor, being part of an accountability group. Human nervous systems stabilize through connection. Being supported makes you less fragile. And lastly, physiological robustness. So this is about having a strong, healthy body, because a strong, healthy body handles stress better. Your body's system must be fit to adapt. So most people focus on coming up with a to-do list on how to remove stress. They look to build resilience, etc., but they don't actually take care of their wellness. If you're struggling with your wellness, then you're not likely to be able to successfully adapt. You need to have a firm foundation of health and wellness to be actually able to be anti-fragile. So if you're stressed, exhausted, you're not adequately sleeping, you're not fueling your body with what it needs, you're not regularly moving your body, then you're not going to be able to be anti-fragile. So anything that helps you develop your wellness is beneficial here. So it could be breathing exercises, aerobic fitness, strength training, sleep, hydration, heart rate variability practices, anything that goes towards your mental and physical fitness, resilience is going to be beneficial here. So your physical system becomes more adaptable when you do these activities and gives your emotional and mental systems more room to grow. So in summary, anti-fragility grows when you add small stresses, vary your experiences, create buffers or redundancy, make small bets. So do small experiments, avoid single points of failure, factor in rest and recovery, look to learn quickly, get fast feedback, you hold a flexible mindset, you lean on support in your social networks, you strengthen your body and give it wellness. So all of these 10 mechanisms together turn stress into strength, pressure into power, uncertainty into growth. All of them are operational levers. The goal being to design small recoverable stresses, get feedback, and recover well repeatedly. Now that we understand the levers or the mechanisms for developing anti-fragility, let me give you a simple set of principles, the robust principles, to guide you in turning stress into strength. Because when we talk about becoming anti-fragile, we're really talking about how to grow stronger when life gets messy, stressful, or unpredictable. The robust principles, so ROBUST principles, are simply 6 practical ways to do this. So robust, ROBUST, is a mnemonic for recruit, operate, break, use, seek, tackle. Each are short for a specific action that builds anti-fragility. So think of them as guiding ideas that help you turn stress into strength, even when things feel uncertain. So let's go through each of them. So R is recruit your brain. So this is about changing how we see stress and to reframe it as a source of data. So stress is not automatically a bad thing, it's just information. So with recruit your brain, we want to treat stress as information, not as proof of incapacity. So instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this telling me? What is this trying to show me? Reframing the situation stops catastrophic meaning making and turns stress into signals for change. When you do this, you stop your brain from spiraling into fear and start using your thinking brain again. So you go from the reactive amygdala to the conscious, responsive prefrontal cortex. So you get to make better decisions, stay calmer, and you don't waste energy fighting something you can learn from. The second principle is operate in reality. So get out of your head, separate yourself from your emotions and thoughts, and get back to the facts. So when we're stressed, we often imagine worst case scenarios. So what does operating reality mean? It means asking, what do I actually know for sure right now? What is my part in this? What's the next real step I can take? So this prevents emotional leakage and makes decisions more accurate. You use facts to reduce noise. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding logically. So you start reducing the drama and overwhelm. Second principle is break the negative and build the positive. So stop what's not working and focus on what is working. So remove what doesn't work, double down on what is working and on your strengths. So if a process or habit is draining you, get rid of it. If a strength is working, scale it, focus on it. You don't need to overhaul your whole life. Just remove one unhelpful thing and add one helpful thing. Some examples could be instead of doom scrolling, so you can stop wasting your time scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, etc., and add 10 minutes of reading time. So reduce one draining task, something that doesn't really light you up, and add one energizing habit. So small, consistent changes build strength and momentum without burning you out. The next principle is use intelligent risks. So make small bets. Take small, safe steps outside your comfort zone. You don't want to go all out and make a big change because this will get you really into where your brain will go, this is a big threat, this is potential risk, and that'll lead to a bit more of a shutdown. So you want to make what's called cheap experiments rather than single big bets. So you want to make lots of small little incremental bets as opposed to putting it all in. So anti-fragile people don't avoid challenges. They test the waters with small experiments. Some examples. So put 2 to 4 hours a week into a side project rather than betting your career on one move. Try a new skill for 15 minutes. Have one slightly uncomfortable conversation. Launch a smaller version or a prototype of a big idea. So these are small risks with the potential for big learning. By taking this approach, you grow confidence, you gain options, and you learn faster. Because if you're doing a big exercise, it'll take you a lot longer to get the feedback, and then you may discover that you've invested all this time and actually it was a waste of your time. So this way you minimize your risk without hedging everything on one kind of outcome. The next principle is seek collective wisdom. So don't do life alone. Get input from people you trust. So talk to people with different perspectives. So have your friends, colleagues, mentors, perhaps a coach, perhaps an accountability group. Because diverse opinions create robustness. So ask your extended network for fast feedback to avoid blind spots. So you want to ask, what am I not seeing here? What would you do? So as mentioned, this helps you avoid blind spots, helps you feel supported, and it helps you make better and more informed decisions. Lastly, tackle the infinite game. So you want to focus on long-term meaning and purpose, not short-term pressure. When you know your why, you don't get thrown around by every stressor. So ask yourself, what really matters to me in the long run? How does this challenge help me grow into the person I want to be? Purpose turns stress into fuel for change and taking action. So if you play for decades, you can take risks today that pay off later. So purpose multiplies learning. You don't quit, you adapt, you grow. So you want to use your brain and reframe, stay grounded, drop what's not working, try small brave steps, learn from others, and stay focused on what truly matters to you, something that's aligned perhaps with your purpose and values. So let's try a practice. So I'm going to give you a couple practices that can be quite useful in helping you develop anti-fragility. So the first practice is called the small bet tinkering sprint. So this is a quick experiment you can do in your life to learn, grow, and build confidence without risking anything big. So think of it as trying something small, learn something fast, and grow a little bit stronger. So it's not about success or failure. It's about testing, learning, and adapting. And this is what makes you anti-fragile. You get better every time you try small things that stretch you just a little bit more and beyond your comfort zone. So the goal is to create intentional, safe stresses that give rapid feedback and build capability. Because small changes build confidence, teach you quickly, they ensure you don't feel overwhelmed, they give you new skills, and they help you grow from stress instead of shrinking from it. So it's the psychological equivalent of doing a light workout instead of trying to go all out to the heaviest weight possible on day one. So I hope you're all ready. So what I want you to do is grab a notepad and then follow along. Let's get started with this 5-minute tinkering sprint or a small bet tinkering sprint exercise right now. So what I want you to do is to start with picking one tiny challenge. So you want to pick an area of your life where a small failure would teach you something that could be relevant. So it could be in your relationship life, your health life, your work life, your personal development life. Choose something small that will help you grow. So nothing big, nothing too scary, just slightly uncomfortable. So examples could be send one message you've been avoiding, ask someone for feedback, try 10 minutes of cold exposure, go for a 20-minute walk without your phone, draft the first paragraph of a project or a book you're working on, have a short, honest conversation you've been putting off, speak to one person you wouldn't normally speak to, ask for feedback on a draft of a business plan or a book you're working on. So choose one small bet that takes you 30 to 120 minutes total. It's totally recoverable and has learning potential. So ask yourself, what's something small I can try that would help me grow? So something that would potentially help me to grow. So something relevant that I could try that isn't too overly taxing, but if could have the potential to help me grow. So you want to write that down. So in step 2, we're going to define the dose and recovery. So what does that mean? So it means that we're going to determine the minimal dose that will produce some form of result, the minimal amount or the smallest version of some activity that you can do, you can realistically do, and that will produce some form of result. Examples could be, as far as the dose, you're going to do 10 minutes of an activity. You're going to have one conversation. You're going to send one relevant email. You're going to make one attempt at doing something new. You're going to spend 20 minutes doing this one practice. Next, you want to determine how you'll recover. Something simple that resets you very quickly. So this could be a cup of tea, a 5-minute walk, practicing breath work, practicing journaling, an early night, a debrief with a friend. It's up to you to determine what works for you. So then you want to write down the dose, so how much time you're going to do this activity for, and then the recovery, so what's the particular thing you're going to do to recover once you've done this activity. So step 3, this is all about fast feedback and reflection. So you're going to ask yourself, how will I know what I learnt? How will I get feedback in 48 to 72 hours? So some feedback ideas. Ask one person what they notice. Look at your own results. There are plenty of software out now. It makes it very easy to kind of like track results. So collect data, measure an outcome, notice how you felt afterwards, and check whether the fear was real or imagined. So write feedback method equals, then have a reflection question. What did I learn that I didn't know before? Then you want to commit to when you're doing it. So you then want to schedule it into your calendar so it becomes something that you will actually do. So let's have an example to make this a little bit clearer for you. So perhaps you've been avoiding a difficult conversation at work or home. Maybe you'll worry or upset someone and you don't want any kind of conflict. So step 1, picking a small challenge. I will have a 10-minute conversation with my colleague or boss to clear up the confusion about our project. So this is not about having a big emotional talk. It's just 10 minutes of clarity. Step 2, you want to set the dose and recovery. So our dose at this particular point in time is 10 minutes. So one topic only, and you're going to stay calm. And then your recovery is a 5-minute walk and one slow deep breath outwards, or one practice or round of calm touch. Step 3 is about fast feedback. So possible feedback methods. Notice how the conversation actually went. So you're reflecting on what actually went down. Ask, did the world end? Did it get better than expected? Ask your colleague or boss, was this helpful for you? You use a reflection question. What did I learn that I didn't know before? So this is a perfect example of anti-fragility. So you step into something small and stressful, you learn you can handle it, then you grow stronger for next time. So next time it doesn't become so disconcerting, you're used to this, it becomes easy to take action. This particular practice helps you grow stronger by trying something small, learning fast, and improving each time. So it minimizes risk by not doing anything that's overly big. So small incremental steps. So small bets increase optionality. So you build data, not drama, and over time, many small bets compound into meaningful anti-fragility. So the second practice to help you build anti-fragility is called a Hermetic stress plan. So Hermesius. So Hermesius is manageable biological stress that leads to adaptation. So you see it in strength training and cold exposure and interval training. So we can also use the same idea or principles in cognition and emotion. Here's an example Hermetic plan. Physical, so these are physical or physiological challenges. So 2 times a week, you may try interval training, heavy lifting, maybe doing stairs, maybe doing some form of cross training. Once a week, taking a cold shower. So you start perhaps at 30 seconds and look to build up from there. You look to get a quality sleep. So you may want to come up with some kind of a ritual so that you can hit your 7 to 8 hour target. So cognitive, hermetic stresses. So once a week, you're going to do a hard learning session. So learning on a new or difficult topic, so perhaps 30 or 60 minutes a week. Emotionally, once a week, you're going to structure some discomfort. So it could be a tough conversation or a boundary setting role play. Then there's recovery. So daily, perhaps you're going to do 10 to 20 minutes of deliberate recovery. So this could be breath work, calm touch practice, walk, go for a walk, sleep hygiene, etc. So how to get started with this? So you want to start slow, grow slow, start low, grow slowly. So for example, if you've never done cold exposure, begin with 15 seconds after the shower, then add 15 seconds each week and slowly get up to perhaps like 5, 6 minutes. So why does this work? So biological stress plus recovery equals overconsumption, overcompensation. Cognitive stress plus feedback equals plasticity. Emotional stress plus safety equals expanded tolerance. Over time, you become physiologically and psychologically more robust. So if you attended a stress and burnout summit, you've been practicing calm touch throughout the summit. So this is our gentle breath touch practice that helps you to regulate your nervous system and shift your body into feeling safety and feeling regulated. So as you remember, it includes our 4-8 breathing. So it's breath work, breathing in through the nose for 4, out through the mouth. Then it's using a series of gentle touches on particular parts of our body. So it could be our hands, be stroking our forearms, our arms, so from the top of our shoulders down to our elbows. So all the while using our breath, could be stroking our thighs, or could simply be gently, mindfully rubbing our fingertips. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want to show you why calm touch is not only a reliable calming practice, it's absolutely essential, as is any calming regulatory practice for becoming anti-fragile. So most people think anti-fragility is only about stress exposure. So lifting heavier weights, taking risks, cold exposure, doing hard things. But that's, as I hope you have learned above, only half the equation. Antifragility equals safe stress but strong recovery. Remember, you need stress for there to be micro tears in the muscle, but you need a strong recovery period for the body to repair that muscle and lay down more muscle fibers so that you become stronger. Because without recovery, stress becomes damaging, not strengthening. So if you were to constantly tear down muscle, never recover, eventually you would cause some form of injury because you are not allowing your body time to recover. So now let's talk a little bit more about why calm touch practice or any art of calming practice matters for anti-fragility. So think of calm touch as your regulation anchor. So it activates your body's parasympathetic system, especially the vagus nerve, which increases vagal tone. So we do this through the breathing. So the breath work, especially deep diaphragmatic breathing, stimulates the vagus nerve. Also, we have these C fibers that are all over our body. And then when we stroke ourselves gently, we're stimulating these, which also add to our vagal tone. So the higher our vagal tone, the quicker we return to calm after challenges or stress exposure. The faster you recover, the more stress you can adapt to, and the stronger you get with each stress cycle. So practices like calm touch turns stress into growth instead of overload. So anti-fragility requires controlled exposure plus reliable recovery. If you do not recover well, stress becomes toxic. Think of chronic stress instead of growth producing. So anti-fragility also works through cycles. So the cycle is expose, learn, recover, reflect, adapt, repeat. So once again, we expose ourselves, we learn from it, we give ourselves time to recover, we reflect, so we have further learning, then we adapt, so we make some changes, and then we repeat. So this is the growth cycle that we need to go through. But if you skip the recovery step, the cycle breaks. Then our calm touch practice helps you complete the cycle. So you can think of calm touch like your safety harness for doing hard things. So a little bit like climbing gear, where you normally would climb with a harness. So it doesn't remove the challenge, but it makes the challenge safe to attempt because we're telling our body we're safe and secure. So it downregulates the nervous system, and then our brain is now willing to attempt something. So it means you can push into small stresses, knowing you have a reliable way to soothe, stabilize, and return to equilibrium. So we first need to be calm to be able to actually want to engage with a stressor. And then when we engage with a stressor, it helps to know that we have a reliable practice which will downregulate us and get us back to a calm state very quickly. So calm touch trains your brain that stress is survivable. So every time you calm your system after a stressor, your brain updates its wiring. So now stress isn't a threat. It's something I can handle and grow from. And this becomes the heart of your anti-fragility. So however you practice getting back to calm, or looking to recover, so be it using our calm touch practice, using breath work, meditation, grounding, sensory regulation, journaling, etc. Doesn't matter, but it's important that you do it. Recovery shouldn't be optional because it's the engine of growth. So here's what we covered today. You learned what anti-fragility truly is. So it's not bouncing back, but growing stronger because of stress. You learned the core mechanisms that make this possible and how your mindset, your physiology, and your habits can turn adversity into strength. And you've learned a practical, simple way to start the tinkering sprint, plus why our calm touch practice, which incorporates breath with touch, or in fact, any recovery calming practice, is essential for transforming stress into growth. We can't grow unless we have adequate amount of recovery time. So now to your commitment. So I'm going to give you a small challenge. This week, choose one small stress challenge, one tiny experiment, and pair it with consistent recovery. So do one small bet tinkering sprint, one gentle Hermetic stress practice, and at least 3 calm touch practice sessions. That combination, a small challenge, a tiny experiment, and reliable recovery, is the simplest recipe for becoming anti-fragile. So if you do this for a period of a month, over the 4 weeks, you'll notice your options opening up, confidence growing, and reactions softening. So you'll be less reactive. So you want to start small, you want to start regulated and safe, and you want to definitely start today. Your anti-fragile future grows from taking these small, deliberate steps. So I'm hoping you've seen the value in this, and now you're enthused about the possibility of becoming anti-fragile, because we are, in fact, anti-fragile beings. The problem is most of us haven't been taught that we are actually anti-fragile. Most of us have been taught that we need to seek out comfort, that stress is bad, we need to avoid it at all costs, and the net result is we're not really evolving and adapting to become the best version of ourselves. So anti-fragility, using these mechanisms and principles, enables us to show up in life more effectively. We're able to really thrive as opposed to just survive. So we don't just get by in life, we actually move forward in life because we are constantly challenging ourselves to become better. We're growing, evolving as we go, and we're becoming better versions of ourselves. And I would say to you, this is the real purpose of life. The real purpose of life is not just to live life, it's to actually see what we can do with this one precious life we have, to see how far we can grow, how much we can actually do, how much of an impact we can have, what kind of contribution we can actually make, and we can use anti-fragility as a way to give us the ability to do all of this. So thank you for this, and look forward to your feedback about this masterclass and also the practices. So remember my challenge to you, you definitely want to try and adopt some of the small incremental challenges that will help you grow. So take care and look forward to hearing your feedback.